Welcome back, everybody. Now, when we last left you, we know that Alice and Bella had talked, and Alice had discovered Bella wasn't dead. She had not jumped off the cliff. She was still alive. And now they're worried about Edward because he thinks Bella is dead. Now, it says here that Edward felt hopeless when he heard the news from his sister that Bella was gone, that she had passed away. If you're hopeless, it means you have no hope. If you add that less at the end, it means without. So without hope, he feels like there's nothing to look forward to in the future. There's nothing to be happy about, and so he feels hopeless.
The opposite would be hopeful, of course. You have a lot of hope. You think good things are going to happen. But hopeless means you don't think good things are going to happen. So he's hopeless now. And when he heard the bad news about Bella jumping off the cliff. But his sister Alice has not had the chance to tell him that that's totally wrong. She did not get the information right. So in his grief, because he's so sad, he goes to a place in Italy called Volterra. And that place in Italy is the home of the vampire's ruling family. Now, again, this happened in his grief. Grief is a state or condition of being very, very sad. You will feel grief, for example, when a family member passes away. So he's in his grief, or in a state of grief. And here, in his grief, is our shortcut for you for today. Let's take a closer look.
Shortcut for you.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for Jim. He hasn't been around lately.
Oh, Jim. His girlfriend left him, and in his grief, he hasn't been going out. He's been staying at home.
What is he in?
In somebody's grief means that they have a strong feeling of sadness.
Oh, I see. In somebody's grief means 在伤痛中的意思.
Right. He's so sad that he hasn't left his house in days.
He must have really loved his girlfriend.
Not really. He just misses her big screen TV and her delicious cooking.
Well, in his grief, he should buy a new TV and learn how to cook.
So why did Edward go to Volterra in Italy? Isn't that a little strange? You know, they're actually in Washington. That's a state on the west coast of the United States. So why would he go so far away to Italy? Well, Volterra happens to be the home of the vampire's ruling family. Now, they're a part of a big group of vampires that live in the world. And the ruling family is the family of vampires that tells everybody else what to do. If you're the ruling family, it means you are royalty. For example, in England, they still have royalty, and Queen Elizabeth's family is the ruling family. Well, he goes to Volterra, and the ruling vampire family, they're not very nice. In fact, they're dangerous. And his plan was to anger them into killing him. So I guess you can make vampires pretty angry enough to kill you. Now here we're using the word anger as a verb. He wants to anger them, to make them mad, to make them angry so that they'll kill him. And that's a way he can kill himself.
We don't really use anger as a verb very often. It's very rare that we do this. Anger is most of the time used as a noun. But here, his plan was to anger them, or to make them angry enough to kill him. So he was going to go there and be obnoxious and insult them and do rude things to them, and they would have thought, if you're going to be that way, we're going to let you have it. And of course, you have to drive a stake through the heart of a vampire in order to kill that vampire. Oh, I think that would hurt.
Well, Alice and Bella decided to take a trip to Italy too, and they run through the streets of Italy trying to find Edward as quickly as they can. They know what his plan is. It says here that Bella's heart was pounding in her chest. When something's pounding, it's hitting against something very hard. If you say your heart is pounding or your chest is pounding, it might be because you're nervous, because you're scared, or because you've been running very fast, right? And your heart's beating quickly. So it's pounding in your chest. She knew she couldn't live if Edward died.
So she was hoping that she could get there on time before it was too late. Well, then what happened? She saw his perfect face. At least in her eyes, it was perfect.
She's in love.
She's in love, right? And of course, the person you're in love with will be perfect. They won't have any flaws, no marks on their face, their nose won't be too big, etc., etc. And everything else in the world stopped, which means she could only pay attention to Edward. Nothing else mattered.
Well, Edward gazed at her, or he looked at her for a long time, his golden eyes almost on fire, showing that he loved her when he looked at her. And then it says, as she held him or put her arms around him, hugged him tightly, she knew that nothing would ever come between them again. Nothing would be able to separate them from their love for each other. Sounds pretty romantic, huh?
It sure does. Okay, everybody, that brings us to the end of our explanation. It's time now to listen to our Chinese teacher.